Good morning, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today is Sunday, July 2nd, and the moon is in Sag. The moon does shift today, at 1:21 p.m. on the east coast of the U.S., when it moves into Capricorn, practical Capricorn. Good thing we have the moon in Capricorn, because today we also have a square between Venus and Uranus. Venus, of course, is our relationships, our values, our money, our resources. And Uranus is, unusual things, sudden out of nowhere. Squares create the need to take Squares require us to change in some way and move the energy. The energy is moving. We have to do something about it. And squares are, this particular square is a first quarter square, crisis in action. And there we have little Mr. Bunny. Hello, Bunny. Charlie's out. Be careful. I think he's hiding under his usual bush, probably. So, first quarter crisis in action square between Venus and Uranus can cause us to take actions that are impulsive, out of the ordinary, and not always considered. It reminds me of a time when I have a natal Uranus Venus square, and so it's part of my repertoire, if you want to call it that. But I remember many years ago I was having I can't remember if I had the Uranus square in my chart, and then Uranus and Venus in the sky was squaring, and I think it was connected to my chart. I'd have to look back because I'm telling you a story from the late 90s, and I had a sudden attraction to we'll call him a gentleman, but we'll have to put the gentleman in quotes, and it was somebody that I originally just had a real aversion to, and then one day, all of a sudden, like a cartoon, there were flowers and this, that, and the other thing, and I decided, why not? We'll say I followed my lower self on that one, and boy, what a mistake that was, and not only did it break my heart, which is commonplace really back in the day. Problem when you wear your heart on your sleeve. But it also cost me a boatload of money, because this guy was anyway, it was my own damn fault, really. But it was very out of character. This is not somebody I would have normally went after. I liked smart guys, and this guy wasn't so smart. Of course, he was manipulative, so maybe he was smarter than I thought he was. But hi, Bunny. The bunnies are popping out of the garden. It was a decision made with Venus square Uranus. So you gotta really, maybe as we get older, it's a little easier to avoid these things. But if you're young out there and you still have hormones, just be careful with this aspect. Now, all that being said, this is an aspect that we're going to see 3 times, because we do have a Venus retrograde period. And so we're going to have 3 opportunities with this. But it's not all bad news, right? It's not all bad news. Not everybody makes the mistakes I make. Sometimes these experiences propel us into a new place, and it was certainly true for me. I went from being involved to just not being involved for quite a while, and staying away from that stuff. Enough time to give myself the space I needed at the time to really come to terms with why I was doing these silly things, and what was driving that, what sense was driving it. And of course, with relationships, it's always like, wanting to be loved and wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard and oftentimes wanting to be touched. So, but I did actually not date anybody for a couple of years after that. And it really did help me come to understand who I was. After that happened with this gentleman, I stopped spending time on people who didn't deserve my time. I started to value myself. And I ended up doing a whole bunch of stuff I've always wanted to do, but never had the time because I always invested myself in other people. So it was very painful, but very instructive. And so I give you this example not to, just as a real life example. So Uranus does allow us to be who we truly are. Sometimes we got to shock ourselves into it. And it can be from our own hand, or it can be something that comes out of the blue within a relationship. It's going to take at least until October for whatever's coming up with this aspect to have any kind of perspective, because that by that time we'll have the third square and we'll have a better idea. Three's a charm, so you might find yourself in a whole different place, whether it be in relation to your resources, and not necessarily in a bad way. So, but we'll see, or your relationships. And for me, it put me in a better relationship place, put me in a worse resource place, but I ended up valuing my resources much more because I didn't give them enough consideration the first time. And I certainly didn't give myself enough consideration. So it's a learning thing, guys. All right, so enough about me and my stories. Let's see. These look good. Yeah, these are looking good. We're supposed to get some good rain today, so we'll see how this works out with good rain. I don't know if the rain pours out, if we're going to lose too much dirt. And these look happy. Happy, happy plants. Happy, happy plants. Ooh, I can't wait till they expand and make babies. All right, so that's what's going on. Ooh, we have a nice, beautiful here. That's lovely. Hopefully we get a couple more on that bush. And these are growing up pretty big. These are the hibiscus that usually come up at the end of the summer. They're usually not this big at this point, but I'm not complaining as long as they come up, show their beautiful faces. All the timing is off anyway because of climate change. And then, of course, the hostas have some flowers, which the bees really like. Waiting for more flowers here. Ooh, here we have another flower. That one's starting to grow. We have that lovely one back there. It's a pretty one. Here we go. Pretty color. All right, guys. That's what's happening. Oh, let me show you the garden, I guess. Got some peppers growing already. Oh, yikes. Oh, it's cold on my legs. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? Yeah, things haven't really... Oh, yeah, here they're starting to grow. Still early. A lot of this stuff just went in because it's been so cold at night that we haven't really been able to put stuff in the ground. But now it's in, so that's good. But that's why everything looks tiny. Well, we'll see how we do this year because you never know what's going to grow and what's going to be your bumper crop and what's not. So again, as always, I'll keep you posted. Have yourself a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend if you're doing that. Thank you again for all your support for my 10,000 subscribers. Check out Moon Shadows with Ona. No, Moonshine with Ona. I do Moon Shadows. Figure that out. Moonshine on Ona's channel, and the Astrology Kabbalah of July for the month, and then for the Kabbalah part, and the first week in astrology. It's going to be a doozy. It already is. All right, guys, take care. Namaste.